Good morning, everyone. This is Dr. Betty again with the Dream Team. And today you get two of us, and this is Amanda Taylor. And Amanda is a consultant and just a strategic advisor for business owners. And in real estate, she's into all kinds of different things. And I am also a strategic advisor for business and life. And I share the secret to top level performance in business and life, as my book always says. So Amanda asked to have some conversations today. So I'm
Yeah.
going to turn it over to you, Amanda.
Thank you. Yeah, when I found out it was just going to be you and I'm like, oh, I'm going to take advantage of this time and dig into all of your experience and your genius. And I'll just, lay it out. I am currently working on because, when I found out that less than 2% of venture capital was going to female-owned businesses, it lit a fire in me.
Yes.
And as an investor, especially one who invests outside of the stock market typically, I like the alternative investment world, but be it real estate or banking and insurance or precious metals, whatever. That was a new world to me. And I'm like, okay, we can do so many win-win scenarios here where we are impact investing for women and causes and things that are important to us and making money at the same time and supporting people. And it's just this, it made me feel good and I want to do it and I want to explore it more. And so I started working with, you know, investors to educate them on the VC world. And now I'm working with a lot of business owners and founders who are wanting to get capital. And in doing so, I'm putting together these programs to get them ready. And you, as an investor, I want to ask you a few questions from your perspective as an investor and working with all these businesses and seeing so much. What do you look for? You've invested in a lot of things. What do you look for?
I have. And in fact, there's a clinic that we're opening up just in just a little bit. And we're just finalizing the paperwork on this. And everybody's asking, okay, so what is the risk? So I look for the upside, but I also look at what the risk is. So what can go wrong? The first thing that I look at is the management team, because it's really the people. So when you look at a business, I remember being an entrepreneur, starting my first little company, and we didn't have a lot of experience starting the new company. And my experience in manufacturing was just my father's experience. And I kind of grew up in manufacturing. So it was kind of like breathing, but I didn't have a lot of experience. And so I went to the banks, and the banks wouldn't lend me the money because we didn't have the experience. Once you have the experience and a proven track record of performance, then it's almost like, so if you think about it, Amanda, think about it, you're taking money from your own pocket and you're lending it to somebody. So if this person is really strong in terms of experience, they're capable leaders, they have a really clear vision. What is your vision? And the way to answer the question about the vision is, why do you need the money?
Exactly.
What are you going to do with the money? So what is your vision? Because a lot of people just use numbers that just kind of come from the air. But if they say, well, I'm going to expand because this is a new product that we're going to be entering in, and it's something that can complement what we have. And we have seen, here's the research that we've seen where this kind of product, it's almost like a Shark Tank, right? So the kind of questions that you would ask in Shark Tank. And then the track record of execution is really important because, for example, let me use a clinic, for example. If you have somebody that really knows how to manage people, but they don't understand the nuances of opening up a brand new clinic, you're going to get an emergency room person, and you're going to get the people that are going to be helped in the front desk. You're going to get all kinds of different things. And if you don't know, you know how to manage people, but you don't know how to manage the process for this particular arena or for this particular industry, that's really important. The other piece is the market opportunity. So I'm going to go through uh, a number of things that I look at. So first is the people, right? And then what kind of an opportunity is there in the market? Because if the market is already flooded with whatever it is this new company is opening up, then I'm going to say, what's your differentiator? And what is your nuance? What is it that you are different at? And so the market demand for whatever product or service is going to be really important. For example, if you're in strategic leadership or strategic advisory, what makes you different, Amanda, is you understand it from an entrepreneur, from an intrapreneur perspective, from an investor perspective. You understand it from so many different angles that it makes sense for you to be doing what you're doing. But if you're just coming in and you're just starting to advise, what is your track record of performance and what have you done before? So the market opportunity is going to be really important. Somebody could say, well, I've done it despite little market opportunity. Then now you know that somebody can actually get to the other side of it, regardless of what happens with the macroeconomic factors that are going on right now. Which brings me then to the competitive advantage, because what's your niche? What's your competitive advantage? What's your unique value proposition? You hear that a lot. And then the other piece is, what barriers are there to entry so that everybody doesn't flood that area or that industry or your niche that you have found. A lot of people want to do spray and pray approach to marketing. And so instead of, it's almost like when I did my dissertation, uh, I think you'll like this, Amanda. When I did my dissertation, my professor said to me, okay, so you want to talk about value-centered leadership, but there's a lot of values and there's a lot of leadership. So you're going into the whole tree. What I want you to focus on is a leaf in one of those branches of the tree. So when we're thinking about investing, what is that leaf that particular business owner is offering, so that you're not investing, oh, we're just going into this market. No, what is it? What is your niche? What is your competitive advantage?
That's awesome.
Then the next thing I would say would be financial health and the revenue growth, the profitability, or the path to profitability. I've had people say, I just had somebody ask me to invest in something yesterday, and this individual said, well, I have this money that's coming in, and I'm going to be able to put some money into the company. And I said, okay, where is it coming in from? Well, it's a promise of money. Well, no, that's not money. It's not in until it's already in an escrow account do you even count it. So what is the clear path to the profitability? And then companies are going to have debt because they're going to have to hire people and invest in the company to be able to do this. The question is it manageable debt? Are they asking for so much money? And I've seen companies that do this. They ask for too much money. And I say, okay, give me the rundown of, or your budget. What is it that you're using the money for? And if they're just investing all of it and spending all of it, then you're going to come down before you start going up. So it's not any different than it is in your own personal budgetary levels, where you've got to be able to manage your income and your expenses so that you don't get yourself in a jiffy. And then you've got to be able to keep enough in reserves. And so if it's a company that is already working, I look and see how much reserves they have, because I want to know how prudent and how diligent that CEO is in really taking a look at having reserves for a rainy day, because you're gonna have rainy days. Then I would say just a couple more things, and then I can kind of open it up for questions. And we've got 30 minutes, so I think we'll have just enough time. The scalability piece is really important. how are you going to be growing your revenue? So you have one really good client, and this is the client that you've opened up your business with. I had a client that was a marketing and PR client, and we became his client, and I helped him by becoming his client. I was the first client of his. And then I started to say, okay, you need more clients because you need to diversify. And so diversification is going to be really important to take a look at, like their chart of accounts, like who do you have in your business,
Mhm.
and what percentage of your business is held in any one individual company or client. Because what happens is one client goes wrong or goes sour, and your whole company could be going down. So it's
Mhm.
going to be really important for them to have the scalability, and the ability to grow the revenue. It's a lot easier to grow revenue when you have 10 clients, because you can grow a little bit in each one, and you don't you diversify your risk
Yes,
rather
yes.
than have the risk in any one customer. So
Mhm.
increasing the cost proportionately and increasing your revenues proportionately is always a good idea also. And then their business model, everybody has a different business model. And I was just talking to a client that is expanding their business, and I said, okay, so what is your signature business model for you? Well, I'm borrowing from that person because they're doing really well. Well, yeah, they're doing really well, but maybe the nuances of their business and the type of people that are managing and the market in that particular geography is different. So their business model is going to be different. So you could take a context and
Mhm.
then create your own content, making sure that you have all of the right pieces of the puzzle, but really understanding how the company is going to be making the money, and then the roots to the sustainable earning opportunity is what I look for. You're making money right now. Okay, what are you putting together, and
Mhm.
how can this money help you so that you're going to be able to make money tomorrow, 10 years from now, 20 years from now? And then the last thing that I look for is, and something that you and I have talked about, 95% of the business owners in the United States of America don't have a generational transfer plan.
Yep.
And so what it's almost like I hate to say it, but a prenup, right? So
Mhm.
before you go into business, what is your exit strategy? And that conversation should be had simultaneously as you are opening up your business. So that's kind of
Yeah.
just back of the napkin.
That's huge. That's huge. And I want to touch on all of these points. I love that you talked about the business owner first, because
Yes.
I have so many people come to me and they're like, I have this great business. And I'm like, well, who are you? Where do you come from? What is your experience? What are your values?
Yes, you got it.
What are you bringing to
Yes,
this? And I think that's a huge point that they overlook because they're
yes.
selling the business, the idea, the revenue.
And
Um,
thank you for saying that, because I ask questions that might trip people off, because I just ask, okay, when was the last time you did something that was kind of, borderline, but you feel really proud of, and that kind of stuff. When I've seen so much in my over 25 years of working with business owners, that you see it all. And are you really leading with your own core values? What is your purpose? What is your why? Why are you doing this? Is money your benefactor, or is it leading with values and really leaving a generational transfer or a generational business behind? And are you doing it like this clinic that we're opening up? When I was tapped on the shoulder to be a partner in it, I dug deep into everyone that is on the board of directors and why are they there. And when I saw, oh my gosh, this is a true mission and they're going to really make a difference in the world, then that's okay. Now you've got my attention. So
Yeah, that's huge. And I love that you brought up Shark Tank, and because I, as a someone who flips houses, right?
Yeah,
Everybody thinks it's going to be like HGTV. And I think a lot of people associate raising capital with Shark Tank, and there's more to it than that
so much more.
produced, 30 seconds on
I know.
TV.
I know. Yes.
And so the work that goes into building that out and putting your pitch together, putting your financials together. You were talking about how are you using this money? And when you do, what is the result of that? How much more revenue are you generating by doing this thing with this money? And what is the exit plan? Are you going to 10x this?
Yep.
All of these things that go into it that they don't think of. And I'm asking when they're asking, I want 10% for this much equity, or I want for this much money. And I'm like, where did you get that valuation? They're like, I don't know.
They
Sounded good.
just took it out. Yeah. But it's this is the beauty of dealing with small business, right? So when you're dealing with small business, you've got the very passionate owner that has been a single producer or in the manufacturing part or whatever, and they have this passion and they have this vision. And so getting from that to, it takes somebody like you to really articulate and to ask the right questions,
Yeah.
because they don't always know what you need. I didn't when I was with my first company or my first two, three companies. It takes a while to get into your stride and to really
Right.
understand. And then once you get to the million, the 10 million, the 30, 50, 100 million, then you've got a team of people that takes care of all of that. But the small
Right.
business is messy, and you've got to be able to have somebody like you that sifts through the
Mhm.
messiness of the small business, and that takes out that diamond in the rough, and that's able to package it so that people like me and people like other banks or
Yeah.
investors or what have you, they will take a look at them in a more favorable way.
Right. It makes it easier for them to sift through all of that.
Yeah,
Agreed.
it does.
And I think that, I don't want to take up much more of your time, but I think the one thing I want to say is I've seen a lot lately about, somebody said there was a big post on LinkedIn the other day about how they sold their company for 30 million and the VC walked away, all they walked away with was like 1.6.
Yes, yes, that happens a lot.
Yeah. And so I want to protect
Yes,
founders and business owners to do the right deal with the
yes,
right investor. You have values. You care about the business owner more
yes,
than the money.
yes.
And how do they vet the investor?
In a very similar way, I mean, you see my book on values. I always think of the little things, and it's really in the little things that you see what values the person the most, in the kind of questions they ask. If
Yeah.
they don't ask, what's your exit strategy and how are you going to take care of your family, then, they don't care. They're just looking for the return on investment, which I don't blame them. They're investors and they're looking for that. And
You
a
can
lot of
have
the
both.
times, yeah, you can have both. I'd love to bring to you a friend in a mentee of mine who does this. Just all he does is buys and sells business, and so that we can ask the same questions of him as he does this. I've got different businesses, and this is one of them.
Yeah, you do.
And when it's almost like a lender. Elizabeth, who's part of the dream team, she often
Mhm.
talks about um, really understanding the financials, really understanding the market, really understanding the import export nature, and because she has her niche, and her niche is the import export. What is their niche, and then what is the investor's niche, and how well do they know, and how much value is the investor willing to
Yeah.
bring to the table to be able to expand the business, or do they only have a checkbook?
Right. It's not just money. Yeah.
No, it isn't just money. So we're sitting now on the other side of the table and
Mhm.
I'm talking to a potential investor. I had a client that took a lot of money from an investor and he lost $100 million business, lost it. And the investor put in the CFO as the CEO, and this individual lost the business. I happened to have had lunch with the CFO, and I said to this individual, "Don't hire him." Oh yeah, but he's got all of these accolades. I said, "Don't hire him. He's thinking that he's going to grow your business too fast, and he has illusions of grandeur." So that's why I look at the management team, not just the CEO, because sometimes we make mistakes. And look, I've made a lot of mistakes as well in hiring the right people and all of that. And you learn and you become better to really slow yourself down and take the time to hire. So the management team is really important. This individual was the one that brought in the investor, and the investor from Wall Street
Mhm.
came in, had him sign the papers, and yes, sign, sign, sign. And right from underneath, it wasn't 5 years, and he lost $100 million company. Just like that. Just like that. And you can lose a 10 million, 20 million. And yes, I've seen a lot where people sell their company for 40, 50 million, and people think, oh my gosh, you're sitting on a lot of money, and that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
And maybe they'll net out 2 3 million or 500,000, depending on if you get a real shark. You've got to be really careful.
Yeah.
So having somebody like you that can sift through
Yeah.
every step of the
Mhm.
negotiation and create, I call it negotiating long, um,
Yeah.
negotiating not just for this transaction, but negotiating for the future.
Yes. Yes. Let's have that whole picture in mind, the exit strategy, everything. Love it.
Yes.
Yeah. I teach everybody, you got to leverage, like you said, the right debt and equity to get you in the perfect position for you in your future. So
Yes, yes.
perfect.
Don't give it
Yeah.
all away. Well,
Love it.
there you go. Well,
Thank
ladies and
you.
gentlemen, that concludes our this segment of our dream team. If you have any questions or if there's something specific that you'd like us to cover, please let us know. And this is Amanda Taylor and Dr. Betty Uribe checking out and starting our Mother's Day weekend at the end of today. So happy Mother's Day to everyone. Bye, everybody.